Good afternoon from Amsterdam. Welcome to the Clean Cooking Investment Series virtual event. Clean Cooking Alliance is pleased to be hosting this convening in collaboration with GetInvest. Some of you may be aware that together with GetInvest, we co-hosted the Clean Cooking Investment Forum in 2018 in Kigali, Rwanda. We had planned to host another in-person event this year, but ran into a bit of an unforeseen, let's just say, viral challenge. We named this the investment series. Indeed, it is a series of webinars today and tomorrow, but we also consider it one in a series of events over time. We hope to continue these virtual discussions with an in-person convening sometime in 2021. Beyond bringing people together, we look forward to continuing to work with many of you individually in the coming year. Looking back, we're fortunate to be able to say that 2020 has been quite a productive year despite all the challenges. Earlier in the year, we launched our Cooking Industry Catalyst platform, which consists of the Venture, Market, and Demand Catalyst work streams. Under our Venture Catalyst, we have already onboarded more than 30 companies, and we will continue to try to identify more in the coming months. These are companies that we have assessed to have the products, business models, and management teams able to transform the clean cooking industry from one which is dependent on public and philanthropic funding to keep the lights on to one which is sustainable with commercially viable and scalable companies, and therefore one which can attract local financing and foreign direct investment into the private sector. We believe this is important to achieve necessary scale. The negative impacts and societal externalities of traditional cooking plague 40 to 50% of the world's population, but also to free up public and philanthropic resources that should instead be used to extend the reach of commercially viable companies to those bottom of the pyramid consumers who simply lack sufficient purchasing power. But the industry must stand up on its own, without grants and subsidies, for at least a certain segment of the market. I'm hopeful we'll hear a lot of interesting updates over these 2 days as to how, pardon me, as to how companies are innovating to make this possible. We are also continuing to develop a range of ecosystem level interventions. We are getting ready to publish the next industry snapshot, as well as many other reports and publications. We are in the early stages of thinking through a range of interventions, from a cooking fuel price index to industry key performance indicators to an in-depth navigable mapping of the value chain for clean cooking solutions. We continue to work with many investors to mobilize capital through funds and direct investments. One example is Spark Plus Africa Fund, which we have been working to develop in collaboration with impact investment firm Enabling Capital, and which we aim to launch in early 2021. Xavier Pierluca, Enabling Capital's managing partner, will speak on the first panel, so you can hear more about that there. All right, I think that's, I will leave my remarks there, but before we get started, a few brief logistics notes. We're recording the event, and recordings will be available on the website later this week. On the website agenda, there are links to each session. You may also have downloaded invites to your calendar. However, I'm told that everything will happen within this Zoom webinar, so you can keep the same session running for the duration of the agenda if you wish. During panel discussions, which will begin in about 35 minutes, you may use the Q&A function for questions or comments you would like to pose to the panelists. And finally, the event is best optimized for a laptop. If you're dialing in on your mobile phone, it's not a problem, but you'll miss some of the production value with title slides and the like. All right, I think that's everything. It's now my pleasure to hand over to my good friend, Michael FRANZ from GetInvest to say a few words before moving to official opening remarks. Michael, over to you.
Thank you very much, Peter. I hope you can all hear me well. My name is Michael FRANZ from Brussels, and today not in home office, but for the occasion, I actually did go to my office. So yes, dear colleagues, dear friends, dear clean cooking community, first of all, Thank you very much, Clean Cooking Alliance, for once again organizing this event and for the opportunity and the honor to do the welcoming remarks. I would also like to thank our contributors, the European Commission, Germany, the Netherlands, Sweden, and Austria, for endowing us at Get Invest with the means to do our work. We're one piece of a puzzle of a European effort by the Commission and member states to do our part to sustainable energy for all. Clean cooking is without a doubt one of the key pieces of the big puzzle for a sustainable future, for a future worth living. If we don't manage, I'm convinced of this, and I keep saying this to anyone who wants to listen, if we don't manage to provide clean cooking for all, we will all be facing severe consequences, directly or indirectly. Billions of people don't have access right now, and as far as I understand, right now we're also not yet on track to address this. We need to pick up the pace. I did get exposed to this, and it's really interesting because I saw on the attendee list that a number of the people who did the exposing back then are in the audience here. During my time in Kenya, I was based in East Africa for a long time. I saw the effects of deforestation, of charcoal burning. I'm a passionate mountain biker, and I went into the bush frequently. I could see the vast areas denuded of any wood, the charcoal pits, the houses filled with smoke. Also the rivers that are full of topsoil that is washed away because there's no trees to prevent the erosion. But at the same time, and I could also see that there's like a lot of opportunities for economic development, for jobs, for improving health, and so on and so forth. You know all this. I actually remember well visiting a stove company, a clean cooking entrepreneur in a place north of Nairobi, and I could see there myself what difference it makes, not only for the users, but also for the company and the employees, of course. Now, there's a lot of people that have been working at this for many years in GIZ, at NEV, at SNV, and elsewhere. And I know that I'm preaching to the converted here. But I also remember from my own experience, it wasn't always like that. I do remember discussions with senior policymakers in partner countries, but also in Europe, when frankly, clean cooking wasn't a priority. Yeah? The whole topic, I could give some quotes now, but the whole topic was really considered backward and politically very, very unattractive. And perhaps that is still holding us back in some places, but I want to thank the Clean Cooking Alliance, ASI for All. And I also want in particular to thank the Dutch government and DIGIS, now also the European Commission and many others for the leadership and for the good work in putting clean cooking really on top of the agenda. So, from where I stand, and from what I can see, and I'm really at the implementing level, I'm a practitioner of sorts. Our job is to support the actual clean cooking companies and the stakeholders. So from what I can see, much has changed in recent years. There's really a new momentum, business models at a political level, technologies. And I could say, from our perspective at Get Invest, we also see that finally, there's new financing options also available or made available that are willing to take the leap into clean cooking. Now, very briefly, I want to introduce who we are at Get Invest and what we can do also to help you to address this. And the next slide, please. So at Get Invest, we are a European program. Our job is to support investments. We're implemented by GIZ. We are supported, funded by the European Union, Germany, Sweden, the Netherlands, and Austria. At our core, where we provide advisory support to make companies' projects bankable, financeable, get access to funding. We have a big team to do that. We have been in operations now for the last 4 years. We have, across all technologies and market segments, business models, we have more than 90 active clients right now, and we've supported more than 160 companies over the years. This is backed up, and that's why we're extremely happy to partner with the Clean Cooking Alliance and other actors, with mobilizing, bringing people together. And I suppose times have changed this year. We were all used to physical events, and I miss it. We all miss meeting each other, I guess. Yeah. So now we're all online, and that is what we try. So we're doing it. We're not trying, we're doing it in many fora and many events. We also provide information and so on and so forth. We provide capacity development training. We've had very good events also with the Clean Cooking Alliance. I don't want to go into details here. This information is accessible, but at our heart, and please feel free to also approach our advisors. I know that we have 3 advisors that are here participating in the event. We have next slide, please. I do want to present briefly where we stand on clean cooking, because again, under the leadership of the Netherlands at the time, we were requested to also support clean cooking, and we were very happy in the team about this, actually. We target normally, and our website says from 250,000 upwards, but on clean cooking, we are more flexible than that, yeah. We right now have 13 companies in the portfolio. We have linked 6 up with financiers. That's our goalpost, you know, to mobilize investment and to help accessing finance. We do events, matchmaking events such as this one. And then what was really, we think and we feel, and from the feedback that we got, a great success was the masterclass in Nairobi, and we're planning another one. We need to have more such kind of formats. And I'm done. But before we continue, I do want, because we support the matchmaking in particular, it's a format that we have been doing over the last 4 years now, and now it's in the online space. Next slide, please. It has changed shape a little bit. I know that there's an information session on this, but I want to use 1 minute to mobilize for this. This is what we have for now, in the absence of a coffee break or of bilateral meetings that we can do. So there are many more slots available for one-on-one meetings. We have the 3 matchmaking slots in the agenda. You can still book meetings until the start of the matchmakings. We have a big backstopping team. Probably listening to this, and on this note, thank you also for your work. And reject the meetings as they come in. Make sure it's the correct time zone, otherwise there could be unfortunate mishaps. And then there's tech support, and they are responsive. And now I'm really done. Thank you very much. I wish you the best of luck for and good success for the next couple of days. And thanks again for the other panelists, for the organizers of putting this together, and goodbye from Brussels.
Thanks, Michael. Really appreciate your remarks and to continuing to work together on these sorts of events with GetInvest. It's now my pleasure to introduce our first speaker to provide opening remarks. Ms. Kitty van der Heijden is the Director General for International Cooperation at the Netherlands Ministry for Foreign Affairs. The floor is yours, Ms. van der Heijden.
Thanks so much. Can you hear me well? Just making sure the audio works.
Very well, yeah.
Perfect. Well, first of all, thanks for having me here. This is an incredibly important opportunity for us, and Michael was already referring to this. This is an agenda we deeply care about. I know this is a time where investors need to make very sharp choices, right? Money is tight, good opportunities may be scarce. And then there's all this talk about building back better, inclusive recovery. Well, if you want to have one good opportunity to do that, this is it. You can do well as an investor by doing good, by investing in clean cooking. The way we see it as Dutch is that this is an agenda that has a solid economic return, but it also has a very high social return. And so from where I sit, this is one of the agendas that really should be much higher on the investment agenda. Now, I think everybody who is part of this Zoom call will know the challenge that we face, right? 2.8 billion people that still depend on wood or other solid fuels to cook their food, with a tremendous negative impact, first and foremost, for those poor people that have to work with it, particularly the women, but also on our planet. And it has a very serious economic costs. Now, I don't want to sort of stress the victim, if you will, perspective or the needs perspective of being trapped in poverty, of having to work in polluted cooking areas, of firewood collection, and nobody ever talks about the risks of gender-based violence, but it's there and it's serious. I would like to look at this agenda as an agenda of potential, an agenda of opportunity of clean cooking. Because this is what creates new jobs, where you can create good business, where you can directly provide opportunities, economic opportunities for women and empower them. You can deliver clean air. You can combat deforestation, which was, I can't remember who of you was talking about mountain biking and seeing denuded areas. You can contribute to health, and you can, I think, support in assisting the greatest danger for all of us, which is climate change. So while clean cooking very clearly is an agenda of tremendous economic potential. I still feel for many investors, it's a bit of a blind spot. And I'm very hopeful because I see signs that this is changing. And Michael FRANZ mentioned this. It used to be sort of that area down there, clean cooking. But thanks to the Clean Cooking Alliance and the work of many others, and obviously that huge demand out there, we are seeing change. Last year, the bank launched a Clean Cooking Fund. This year, Mari Pangestu, the managing director, underlined the importance of clean cooking for building back better. And I'll come back to that. The UN called to make this a political top priority. WHO starts a high-level leaders coalition. And lastly, what I see from my peers, that governments are now finally taking up clean cooking in their policy and in their financing priority. Now, I'm from government. I'm a director general in the Dutch government for development cooperation. For our priorities, we know that clean cooking is a priority, must be a priority, and it should be addressed by all of us in the years to come. That's the role that governments have, to provide that sort of sense of direction. Where are we going? And it's the role of some of you, investors, business, to take up that challenge, to run with it with innovative projects, to use this opportunity and to do good for your portfolio and do some good for people and do some good for the planet. Now, as I said at the outset, I know we're in a situation of crisis today, and it may be difficult for some of you, if not all of us, to look beyond our immediate needs, our health, the immediate survival of our company or our economies. And whether you're an individual, whether you're a company, whether you're a government, I think we're all struggling in these unprecedented times. And when it comes to clean cooking, we've seen surveys that point that about a third are quite struggling and they may have to cease operations, and others are suffering or expecting disruptions in the short term. Now, when you're confronted with these types of crises, you have to have razor-sharp priorities, but it's equally important to look beyond the immediate needs and be future-oriented. If we have any chance to build back better, or some call it build forward, build inclusive, build sustainably, then this is the agenda that we have to implement. There's just no avoiding it. We have to have clean cooking as a core element of any strategy to build back better. It's a roadmap out of a global crisis, the way I see it, to grow your business, to contribute to a more resilient and inclusive future. And beyond growing your business and your portfolio, for me, it's very important for my agenda is that you can grow people's sense of dignity with this agenda through clean cooking. You can provide them with a new outlook for a future, a new perspective, a perspective of hope for health and for economic progress. So in short, the Dutch were referenced before. We firmly believe that we have to accelerate this access to renewable energy, including clean cooking solutions. And to really do that, to make this a reality, we have to create scalable markets. We have to innovate. I know this makes perfect common sense. Now I want everybody to understand this also makes perfect business sense. And that's where this meeting comes in. I'm really thrilled that this brings together business representatives and investors that sort of already recognize or maybe starting to recognize the business potential of clean cooking. I'm thrilled that this meeting also has matchmaking and allows you to forge relationships where you haven't had them before. I want to wish you every bit of luck. Know that what you do and every match you make really matters for the people that I aim to serve. It may matter for your portfolio, but it also matters for poor people and it matters for the planet. So go ahead, get those deals done, do them well, and do them fast because the world needs it. Thanks so much.
Thank you very much, Ms. van der Heijden. It's really, I know I speak on behalf of all of my colleagues at the Clean Cooking Alliance that we really appreciate the Dutch Ministry of Foreign Affairs support on the issue in our work, and it's really terrific to have you here. So thank you very much. I would now like to, it's my pleasure to introduce our next speaker, Ms. Athena Koulouris from the EU Directorate General for International Cooperation and Development. Over to you, Athena.
Well, thank you. Well, let me start with a big thank you to the Clean Cooking Alliance and also to Get Invest for co-hosting this event. I'm glad to represent the European Commission and express why it is important to be here today. So we know that clean and efficient cooking solutions are still far from reality for almost 3 billion people. But investments made so far, the efforts made so far to close the gap in this sector have been shy and even outpaced by the current population growth rates. And the 2030 targets of SDG 7 on universal clean cooking access will not be reached if no prompt action is taken, in particular in sub-Saharan Africa. Of course, we know that almost 4 million annual premature deaths, mainly women and children due to indoor air pollution, is alarming. And the current global health pandemic amplified this situation, obviously with the health impacts, but also with high increase in charcoal fuel prices, especially in urban centers. Given its clear impact on the quality of life and its interlinkages with environment, health, food security, and gender equality, the clean cooking challenge is pressing. Reducing our carbon footprint is clearly one of the main ambitions of the EU Green Deal, which is Europe's new growth strategy to make Europe the first carbon neutral continent by 2050, and to transform the Union into a modern and sustainable economy, leaving no one behind. But climate change is a global issue, and the EU will work and coordinate with its key partners to promote a green transition, a green global transition, and turn the climate and environmental challenges exacerbated by COVID-19 outbreak into opportunities to build back better. And I agree with Titi that clean cooking has a really big role to play here. As you are experiencing in this sector, multiple factors are at stake and add complexity. Cooking preferences, stacking, lack of electricity, high prices for modern technologies such as electric cooking, and often the perception that fuel wood is free. All this further shrinks the profit margins to attract commercial investments necessary to scale up. According to different sources, the estimates for annual investments needed to reach the clean cooking access by 2030 range from 4 to 4 billion up to 150 billion US dollars. Even if the estimations methodologies and definitions vary, given the latest trends of very low financing dedicated so far, what remains certain is that dedicated investment in the sector are crucial. They are needed fast and at scale. To push this agenda, last November at the African Investment Forum, the African European High-Level Platform on Sustainable Energy Investments presented a set of key recommendations for speeding up investments, including a targeted set for clean cooking. And it is also very encouraging to see a recent paradigm shift where market-based approaches are becoming more relevant. Many companies, many of which are digitally with us today, are developing innovative business models to maximize efficiencies, lower costs, and increase affordability. And this is very much needed, and we have to support this. On the financial side, we are also witnessing some steps forward. In particular, the EU has set a number of financial instruments under the European Investment Plan in order to support private sector investments in sustainable energy, to create quality jobs and contribute to achieving the SDGs. One of those instruments is Electrify, 215 million euro for rural electrification financial initiative. Those instruments may also include support to clean cooking solutions. Furthermore, as clean cooking is part of the EU work, some 22 million euros have been recently allocated at global level to support the sector. and we are in constant dialogue with our partners, including development financing institutions, to explore meaningful solutions, such as with the African Development Bank, which is also looking at Spark Plus, a fund dedicated to clean cooking and designed for scalable business models. As you know, there is no one-size-fits-all solution for clean cooking. Therefore, it is important to support innovative solutions, stimulate the demand side, but also the conducive enabling environment, which has to be adapted to each local context. But what is even more crucial nowadays is to de-risk investments in the sector and unlock additional funding from public and commercial investors. Additionally, our support to the sector is extended through instruments such as Get Invest. Many of you are familiar with their services, as explained by Michael before. So they include coaching and financial advisory support, market information and matchmaking services, among others. And they are done with close coordination with relevant sector players. In fact, this event is an example of partnerships we believe are critically needed to accelerate the pace towards achieving universal access to clean cooking. I will stop here now and wish you all a very successful event. Thanks.
Great, thank you very much, Athena. Thanks for those remarks. As with the Dutch, really appreciative of the prioritization that the EC is putting on this agenda and the various ways in which we're in discussions and working together. So look forward to continuing that collaboration. And thank you for being here. I would now like to introduce our final sort of opening remarks speaker. My boss and the CEO of the Clean Cooking Alliance, Ms. Dimfna van der Lans. Over to you, Dimfna.
Thanks, Peter. Always good to be introduced by you, and I'm excited to be here. Thank you also to Athena Kleuris from the EU and Director General Kitty van der Heijden from the Dutch Ministry of Foreign Affairs for their support of this important event, but also for their support of the clean cooking sector more broadly. And thank you to Michael and our colleagues at Get Invest for their partnership over the last couple of years and our collaboration on this event and many others. Partnerships in our sector are crucial. And I think this is an example of a strong, dynamic, and impactful partnership for which I'm personally very grateful. There are just 9 years left to achieve SDG 7, access to affordable, reliable, sustainable, and modern energy for all. And there is an especially long way to go on energy for cooking. The MAX report launched in September this year highlighted the $10 billion of private sector investment and the $40 billion of government and development finance necessary to achieve this goal. This is a significant investment, but the benefit is even more massive. The World Bank estimates that lack of access to clean cooking costs the world $2.4 trillion per year in terms of impacts on health, climate, and gender equality. The time to step up political commitment, financing, policies, and partnerships to accelerate access to clean cooking is now. To achieve universal access to clean cooking by 2030, CCA aims to develop a dynamic, financially sustainable clean cooking industry. To us, this means developing a pipeline of sustainable, scalable clean cooking ventures, supporting robust consumer demand for clean cooking products, strengthening the enabling environment, and generating research, evidence, and learning that accelerates the growth of the industry. The COVID pandemic has presented unprecedented challenges this past year in terms of human health. While more research is needed, it is also reasonable to expect that people who cook using polluting fuels are chronically exposed to household air pollution are even more at risk. The pandemic has also been challenging for clean cooking businesses that have seen reduced ability to operate due to public health restrictions and are experiencing additional barriers in gaining access to the type of funding they need to grow. The pandemic has also changed our ability to interact and work together in person. However, through this event, we want to provide a virtual way to create greater connectivity, not only between companies and investors, but also to develop stronger peer-to-peer connections within the portfolio of ventures supported by CCA and Get Invest, so that ventures can learn from each other about what is working and where there are exciting new opportunities. The sessions we have planned over the coming days, which were designed with input from participants, speak to all of these priorities. We'll start with a session on fundraising and investor priorities and follow that with a discussion on asset financing. That session will touch on business model innovations like pay-as-you-go, which we are pleased to be supporting the development of across an increasing range of technology types. There is a discussion on lessons that are being learned from a variety of results-based financing programs. We'll be hearing from some of our venture partners about innovations and opportunities within specific technology and fuel markets. And we'll be talking about strategies to engage consumers and build demand for clean cooking solutions. Thank you to all of the participants, moderators, panelists, and presenters. I'm looking forward to the discussions over the next couple of days, and I hope that you will all take advantage of the opportunity to connect with each other through the matchmaking sessions, and that the sessions and presentations share some insightful and actionable learnings for our sector. Thank you, and I wish you all a very productive 2 days.
Thanks so much, Stefna. And thank you to all of our distinguished speakers during this opening segment. I think it really did a wonderful job of setting the tone, showing the commitment of funders and support organizations like Get Invest and the Clean Cooking Alliance to continue to work with everybody in attendance here. You know, this is an invite-only event. We intentionally wanted to keep this really a targeted group. And so really looking forward now to moving into the first panel discussion and sort of moving to the more tactical and detailed part of the agenda.